The Shinano was designed to turn the tide of war, a floating fortress meant to restore Japan's crumbling empire. Yet just 10 days after leaving port, she was gone, sunk in the darkness by a single American submarine, becoming the largest warship ever lost to a sub. A clash between giant and hunter that left one haunting question: how could the pride of Japan vanish so quickly? By late 1944, the Pacific War was reaching its peak. Japan's once dominant navy was crumbling under the weight of relentless American attacks. The crushing defeat at Midway in 1942 had shattered the empire's striking power, with 4 of its frontline carriers gone in a single blow. In a last-ditch effort, the Japanese Navy rushed a massive secret weapon into service, the Shinano, the largest aircraft carrier ever built at that time. Originally laid down as a Yamato-class super battleship, the unfinished hull was converted into a floating air base. Stretching 3 football fields long and weighing 71,000 metric tons. Her top speed was 27 knots or 31 miles per hour, with a range of 10,000 nautical miles, and she could carry over 160 aircraft. The design included large anti-torpedo bulges below the waterline, but to speed up construction, her planned 16-inch armor belt was reduced to just 6 inches, leaving her critically vulnerable below her deck. On November 19, 1944, the Yokosuka Naval Shipyard buzzed with music, flags, and cheers as the Shinano was officially commissioned. But the celebration was cut short when an American B-29 reconnaissance plane was spotted overhead, snapping this rare photo of the massive ship. The timing sent shockwaves across Tokyo. Fearing an imminent air attack, High Command issued a desperate order. Standing at her helm was Captain Toshio Abe, a quiet but capable officer, now burdened with saving Japan's empire. His task was to immediately sail Shinano 300 miles south to the fortified naval base in Kure, ready or not, to continue outfitting. Captain Abe protested. The ship wasn't ready. Watertight doors were missing. Bulkhead openings for cables were unsealed. And most critically, her fire mains and bilge systems were inoperable. But for Japan's battered navy, the Shinano was a symbol of renewed hope, and her journey was now a race against time. But fate had other plans. Lurking silently beneath the waves was the American submarine USS Archerfish, commanded by Captain Joseph Enright. But Enright had failed before. Time and again, enemy ships had slipped through his sights. He vowed this time would be different. At 5 p.m. on November 28th, Shinano slipped from the docks, escorted by 3 experienced destroyers, Esokaze, Yukikaze, and Hamikaze. On board were 2,000 officers and crew, along with 300 shipyard workers and 40 civilian contractors, still welding, wiring, and racing to finish the ship as she sailed. Abe preferred a daylight passage, since it would give him extra time to train his young crew. However, he was forced to make a nighttime run when he learned the Navy General Staff could not provide air support. Below deck, Shinano carried a deadly cargo: 6 Shinyo suicide boats and 50 rocket-powered Oka kamikaze planes. Captain Abe pressed on at a reduced speed of just 20 knots. 4 of Shinano's 12 boilers were offline, leaving her with only partial engine power. Still, the trip to Kure was expected to take only 16 hours. As the flotilla cleared Tokyo Bay, the ships began zigzagging, a standard tactic to evade submarine attacks. Roaming the waters to the south, the USS Archerfish surfaced just after dusk. Captain Joseph Enright, a native of North Dakota, was on his first war patrol aboard his new vessel. Just a year before, he had personally stepped down from command, doubting his own judgment after failing to intercept the Japanese carrier Shokaku. Now, with a seasoned crew and a second chance, Enright was determined to redeem himself. At 8:50 p.m. on November 28th, under a full moon, the crew of the Archerfish detected something big. Radar blips 14 miles away to the northeast. From the submarine's deck, Captain Enright scanned the horizon through binoculars. At first, he thought it was an oil tanker with escorts. But as the shape grew clearer, reality set in. This was no tanker. It was a giant aircraft carrier, the likes of which they'd never seen. Breaking protocol, Enright ordered continuous radar pings to track the target, knowing full well it would alert the enemy to their position. He set a course to shadow the carrier. To keep pace, the submarine would have to stay on the surface. Being submerged was far too slow for the chase. Then, a sense of doubt crept over the captain. What could one submarine do against such a massive ship? Just a month earlier, it had taken 19 torpedoes and countless bombs to sink her sister ship, Musashi. Meanwhile, aboard the Shinano, the radar pulses were immediately detected. Captain Abe took note, but remained calm. One submarine, harmless. Only a coordinated strike from a wolf pack of submarines could threaten a vessel as large as Shinano. At 10:45 p.m., lookouts sighted the Archerfish on the surface. The destroyer Izokazi, disobeying orders, moved in to attack. Abe quickly ordered it back into formation. He suspected a decoy, bait meant to lure his escorts away so other American subs could strike. To avoid the trap, he ordered a sudden turn to the south, confident he could outrun the pursuer. By his calculations, Shinano held a 1 to 2 knot speed advantage over the American boat. Archerfish's engines roared at full throttle, driving at a top surface speed of 18 knots. As she strained to keep pace, Captain Enright quickly drew a sketch of the vessel. But by 11 p.m., the American crew watched helplessly as the target slipped beyond visual contact. Enright, haunted by memories of the Shokaku slipping from his grasp, made a bold choice: stay the course. He gambled that the mysterious carrier, originally tracked on a 210-degree southwesterly heading, might swing back and resume its original path. If it did, Enright wanted to be ready. As time slipped by, so did the Shinano, plowing south, refusing to correct her course. Patting the rosary beads in his pocket, Commander Enright grew increasingly anxious, unable to find his target. Around 11:22 p.m., prayers were answered. One of Shinano's propeller shafts began to overheat, forcing the carrier to reduce its speed to 18 knots, matching closely the top speed of the Archerfish. Then, at 11:40 p.m., with a faulty engine and under the illusion of safety, Captain Abe changed course, turning the Shinano due west, believing he had left danger behind. The Archerfish, now just south of the Shinano, suddenly regained contact. From here on, Enright wrote later, it was a mad race for a possible firing position. Shinano's speed was about 1 knot in excess of our best, but his zigzag plan allowed us to pull ahead, very slowly. Tracking just ahead, but not close enough to attack without being spotted, Enright grew frustrated. He radioed a contact report to Pearl Harbor, transmitting the Archerfish's location, heading and intended target for any American subs in the area. The Japanese picked up the transmission almost immediately. On the bridge, Captain Abe listened as the foreign signal broke through. To him, it confirmed his suspicion. They weren't being tracked by one submarine, but many. Unfortunately for Abe, his hastily constructed ship was not fitted with the equipment needed to ascertain the distance or bearing of intercepted broadcasts. So he imagined a wolf pack of American submarines waiting north, just out of sight, plotting their ambush. At 2:56 a.m., Captain Abe, frightened, made a sharp turn to the southwest, resuming Shinano's original 210-degree course that Enright was hoping for. The massive carrier was now heading directly toward Enright. he quickly turned his ship across the Shinano's new track. And at 3:05 a.m., Archerfish dove beneath the surface and moved into an attack position, leveling the sub at 60 feet. "Flood the tubes. Set depth on the torpedoes. 10 feet, Enright ordered. Some of the crew looked puzzled. 10 feet seemed unusually shallow, but Enright wasn't guessing. He was remembering. A year earlier, Rear Admiral Freeland Dorbin had told him, "If you're going after a carrier, hit just beneath the waterline. The weight of the flight deck could do far more to roll a carrier than simply punching holes anywhere on the hull." Enright also knew something else. His Mark 14 torpedoes had a reputation for running deeper than their settings. Immediately, something changed aboard Shinano. For hours, they had heard consistent radar pings echoing from the American boat. Now, the pulses were gone. Silence. Captain Abe knew what that meant. The enemy sub had submerged. An attack was coming. Trying to shake the enemy, he ordered another frantic course correction, this time heading due south.